You know what? The day Marcus Whitman loudly mocked his ex-girlfriend in front of his business partners, bragging like he owned the world in that fancy restaurant. Things were about to change, and then she dropped a DNA test on the table. Silence fell. Not the kind you expect at some corporate meeting, but the kind that freezes the air, heavy and impossible to ignore. That's where our story really begins. It was a cold fall day in New York, colder than usual, when Layla Johnson, a 23-year-old from Harlem, stood inside the private elevator of a luxury skyscraper, her heart pounding like a drum. She clutched a designer knockoff purse, the kind you can't help but buy even if it means skipping coffee for a week, and inside that purse was a pregnancy test, positive. But not just positive twins. Two little heartbeats growing inside her. And they tied her forever to Marcus Whitman, the man waiting for her at the penthouse. Marcus was everything the city's elite loved to see. 29 years old, heir to a real estate empire, dressed to the nines, cool and confident like he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He barely glanced up from his laptop when Layla arrived, busy preparing for an investor dinner. She tried to steady her voice, rehearsing the news in her mind how to tell him they were going to be parents. But Marcus was all business, pouring himself a scotch, not even offering her one. "Marcus, I'm pregnant," she said, voice trembling. His face didn't change. Then she pulled out the test, showing him the double lines, and told him about the twins. The room felt like it froze, colder than any Manhattan winter. Marcus's eyes shifted not with warmth, but something like frost creeping over glass. "Twins," he repeated, like a judge passing sentence. Layla tried to hold on to hope that he would see her, their children, as a part of his world. But Marcus? He talked about reality, his reality, where a Harlem girl like Layla wasn't pedigree enough for the Whitmans. He even wrote her a check, $500,000, to disappear and never mention his name again, along with papers to waive paternity rights. "It's better for everyone," he said, cold as ice. But better for whom? Layla's tears fell as she refused to accept the money, ripping the check to pieces right there on the penthouse floor. She was just a girl from Harlem, and no amount of cash could buy her dignity or silence the fight growing inside her. That night, soaked in rain outside the tower, she made a decision that would change her life forever. The months that followed were brutal. Evicted from her apartment, Layla slept in shelters, juggled two jobs, receptionist by day, waitress by night, all while her belly grew heavy with the twins. She coded on her laptop in library chairs, hiding her pregnancy, surviving on free prenatal clinics and food pantries. At every turn, doors slammed in her face, a tech interview where the manager said, "We don't hire problems," the harsh stares from former classmates who crossed the street to avoid her. The city's bright lights felt dimmer and crueler than ever. But even in the darkest times, Layla whispered promises to her unborn children. "The world might try to tell you you're less, that you don't deserve great things because you started with less, but I will build an empire where you'll never need anyone's approval. And one day, Marcus Whitman will know the monstrous mistake he made." That turning point came when, 8 months pregnant, she entered a startup competition with an algorithm she had developed during sleepless nights, a program to predict consumer behavior with precision no one had seen before. The judges gave her third place and a $5,000 grant, not much, but enough for a better apartment and a proper crib. More importantly, she caught the attention of Eliza Cohen, an angel investor who saw past her worn clothes and tired eyes. Eliza didn't just invest in Layla's idea, she invested in her. "I don't invest in code, I invest in people," Eliza said. "Someone who builds an algorithm while homeless and 8 months pregnant has the kind of tenacity I want to back." With Eliza's support, Layla moved into a small Queens studio, went into labor alone, and gave birth to Zion and Zoe, twins with caramel skin and striking blue-gray eyes, a perfect mix of her and Marcus. Eliza was there with flowers and encouragement, a symbol of the rare kindness Layla had earned. The months that followed were a blur, sleepless nights, juggling feedings and coding, typing one-handed while cradling a sleeping baby. The tiny apartment was part nursery, part startup headquarters, filled with formula bottles, baby clothes, and programming manuals. Every rejection from clients or investors only fueled Layla's fire. When a boutique in Brooklyn reported a 12% sales increase using her analytics, her vision was no longer just a dream, it was becoming reality. Despite the doubts and implicit biases motherhood, somehow always framed as a liability, Layla pushed forward. She registered LJ Tech as an LLC, hired her first employees, and slowly built a client base. She proved that being a mother didn't diminish her skills. If anything, it sharpened her efficiency and resolve. Years passed. LJ Tech expanded, signed major contracts, and attracted serious investors. The twins, now toddlers, showed remarkable intelligence. Zion fascinated by math and algorithms, Zoe passionate about accessibility technology. Layla nurtured their gifts while building a company that revolutionized data analytics, becoming known in the industry as the Oracle of Harlem. But the story wasn't just about business. It was about closure. 10 years after Marcus's cruel rejection, their worlds collided again at a Fortune 500 gala where Layla was honored as Entrepreneur of the Year. The very same Marcus Whitman, now struggling to hold onto his family empire, found himself face to face with the woman he had cast aside and the children he had tried to erase. The moment was electric. Marcus's shock, the twins' poised intelligence, Layla's graceful strength. When Marcus awkwardly approached, hoping for reconciliation, the twins met him with a clear-eyed assessment, not anger, but disinterest. Father is who raises, supports, teaches, Zion said matter-of-factly. Business was business. Layla's company was even looking to acquire parts of the Whitman empire, turning the tables on the man who once tried to buy her silence. When Marcus offered to sell his properties, Layla was calm and clear. "You became irrelevant to my story a long time ago." The final chapter wasn't about revenge. It was about vision, resilience, and defining one's own legacy. Standing on the terrace with her children, watching the sun rise over Manhattan, Layla reflected on the journey from rain-soaked rejection to commanding the skyline, from abandoned mother to industry leader. So what do you think, folks? Was Marcus ever truly a father, or just a man scared of change? Does Layla's story prove that determination can break even the most entrenched barriers? And how does this reflect on a society still wrestling with pedigree, privilege, and power? I invite you to share your thoughts. Where do you stand on justice, opportunity, and the meaning of family in a world that often judges by bloodline and status? Drop your opinions below. Let's get the conversation going.